my friends. How are you today? Oh my gosh, I'm doing really good. So, I am a really sentimental, or I don't even know what you want to call it, about anniversaries and certain dates and certain things. They just stick out to me, and I think they're important. Yeah, there are some really good anniversaries, or things to celebrate that, like a birthday, right? Those happen every year. It's a fun reminder of you were born and you deserve to be celebrated and you are loved and you are cared for. And then there's some also some challenging anniversaries we have to face, right? Maybe if you were assaulted, or somebody passed away. And the thing about an anniversary, whether it be a birthday, a wedding anniversary, it brings up a lot of emotions. You go back to living in the past, temporarily, and you're reliving this experience, and you have this form of reflection on kind of what has transpired that day, what has transpired since, and kind of what do you want to transpire in your future, as a result of this event, because it impacted you, whether it was something that was amazing, that you just don't want to forget, those really good flashbacks you get from, your phone or your social media saying, oh, here's where you were a year ago, and here's where you are, where are you today? So for me, today has oddly been January 24th has oddly been this day that's had some kind of impact on my life for whatever random reason. So I'm not super religious, but I'm a spiritual person. And, I grew up, my great grandfather was according to my family, some extremely high priest in the Russian Orthodox Church. He is accredited for, creating certain and inventing certain things that are still used in the church today. It was obviously something that was very, calling and passionate to him. And, so we were raised fairly religious, but not overly so. My dad did take us to church quite often on Sundays. Eventually, I did spend 5 years in Catholic schooling, and when I was young, I was in some denomination of religious preschool, and it wasn't kindergarten, I don't think, I can't remember, maybe possibly kindergarten, but definitely preschool. And there were they're called iconas, so there were religious artifacts in our house. My grandma was extremely religious. All my family wore the crosses they were baptized with, and their spirituality was something really important to their identity, and they really believed in the philosophies of the Orthodox way. And having had the opportunity to go to Catholic school, we did have this religious class, and in this class we did learn not only about Catholicism, but we learned about all the different religion, not all of them, but we learned about different religions. And I'm more of just where I've settled is, I believe rules are important, but I do believe in change and evolution. And when, and there's some things that are sacred and traditional. And when I walk into the Russian Orthodox Church, I feel like I'm stepping back in time. It is beautiful, the paintings and the gold and the things. I don't speak Russian. So B, I don't know what you're talking about. I mean, I can feel the emotions. And it's beautiful. There's a lot of hymns and singing, and, there's things, but it just doesn't connect with me whatsoever. I wanted to, I value that this was such a important part of my ancestry. However, I don't get it. I don't get, as a married woman, I need to walk in there and cover my head. I don't get that because I have a pair of pants on, I'm not welcome inside to worship. I don't get it that I need to stand there stand because there's no pews like or seats. Like I need to stand there and feel uncomfortable, where I'm thinking more about like my leg falling asleep than I am, what the pastor, priest, whatever, whoever it is speaking, is saying. And so I kind of like lost it. And then, Catholicism was kind of like, having gone to, I was in Catholic school. So we went to a lot of Catholic masses. And, my dad had kind of, like compromised too. Like he was like, yeah, like I get it, like with the Russian Orthodox. And since it was the same ideology, there was just the split, and, one modernized, one didn't, one had a, Pope, one didn't. And there were, minor details. It still kind of had the same premise. So my dad often, like he also went to Catholic school. So like he often, like we went to the local Catholic church for mass. And again, it was very fascinating because like I say, I'm an observer. So I really like enjoyed like watching, the couples that would come in and probably have been going there for 50 years together, and do their little routine and their habitual like things. And again, it was something in regards to the rules that just kind of turned me off. Like if I feel so inclined to want to have the, the body of Jesus and get the, oh my gosh, I'm blanking on the name, the communion. Like I don't feel, and I, sorry, like I get there are rules. Like I just don't like, I just don't feel personally like I need to check off all these boxes in order to do these things. Like I have to go to confession, and then I have to do this many things. Like, and I get it. And like, believe me, there is nobody that's going to punish me more for my actions than me, myself, and I. So like, I don't know. There was something about it. And then again, some of the things that came out in the news and things like that, it just kind of, I just didn't connect with it anymore. And so as I got older, I started doing like more exploration. I would meet more people. I continued keeping an open mind. I went to many different denomination of churches. And, I think it's just fascinating to see, like, just like, it has the same kind of theme and the same similar stories, but it's just like the execution of it is so different. And I think that for me, like spirituality is something that is like within and that connects with you. And if going and singing hallelujah like is you, like do you, like if there was a church out there that was just dancing and grooving and got down and like then had some one-on-one chats with people and like listen to like a and that's what the a lot of the pastors and priests, I mean they're like essentially like motivational speakers, and with a little bit of like religion, or sometimes a lot of bit of religion in there. But really, if you get past a lot of that, like the messages are beautiful a lot of times. The like at least the congregations I've been a part of are attended, I've went to those ones. And so yeah, I don't know how I just got on the religious tangent, but I do actually remember. So today, January 24th, 2024, today, is super, like January 24th has been something. So like I was actually baptized back, I was fairly old. I was like tall. I mean, I'm not fairly old, but I wasn't a baby. And my parents were still married. So I'm probably guessing maybe 4 or something like that. And so I was baptized this day. My brother Danny was baptized this day, and my mom was baptized this day. So like we were all 3 baptized together. And I'm all about like family and symbolicism, and like that was kind of like important to me, like like a kind of as an interesting thing. And later on in life, and as just life would have it, like when Bradley was born, I will pray to any God, I will pray to anything, like I don't care who you are, just fix my baby and help him and support him and just try to keep him as pain-free as possible. And let us just survive this. And so my grandma was like, we're going to bring the priest and everything. So they bring the priest, and I thought they're just doing blessings, and they end up baptizing him. And in the church, in the hospital there, and I'm thinking, I don't know, baptism is supposed to be just in a, again, this is just another thing that, was part of, my ideology of how I was going to be a mom. You get pregnant, you have the fun baby shower, and then the baby's born and everybody comes and visits with flowers and teddy bears and balloons. And then you go home and you have, your baby and you spend time together and he sleeps through the night. And, he's just absolutely perfect. 10 fingers, 10 toes. And oh yeah, a heart with no heart holes in it. And, there's just so many things that you envision. And then like what happens is different. Oh, and that was another thing. Like, just the thing, they have a big baptism and, have a big first birthday and, just all those little like things you imagine and envision how, normal and average your life will be. And then when it's not, it's a reminder. So anyways, Bradley ends up getting baptized, ironically, on January 24th. And we're just like, I didn't realize this until many years later, because I ended up like finding my baptismal certificate and everything. Like I didn't know, but it just like it so happened to be. And the January 24th was the first day that the priest had time to get to the hospital. And so, years go by and then Karina is born. And now I'm like, I struggled a lot because it was like some of the things I wanted that I had missed out with Bradley, but then on the same turn, I felt this guilt that I wasn't able to have him with Bradley. So it's like, I almost didn't want to experience them with Karina. So it's like, and then I was also really busy. He was still like seeing doctors constantly. Like it wasn't as easy as, and then I have 2 kids and, oh yeah, by the way, my husband cheated and, we almost got a divorce and then we were back together and all those struggles. And I had major postpartum depression, did not know it, just struggles with money. My husband has another kid and like they were going to court, or starting a business, like you just name it, right? Like there was so much going on, like certain things like just no longer became important, like a baptism. But then my brother ended up having a daughter, and I think they're about 18 months apart, pretty much 18 months apart, younger than mine. And then, this was their first child. It was, like they wanted the, everything and they were getting it, like the family there, the healthy baby, everything was working out perfectly for them. So as it made sense, they wanted to do the baptism and everything. And they were like, well, why don't we just all do it together? And so I was like, okay, great. So we ended up baptizing Bradley, Karina, and my niece Nadia all together. And, we were like, it's torturous, it's long, let's just get it all done with once. And so you won't believe it. Guess what date it was? It was January 24th. And when it all connected, I was like, so weird. Okay. I mean, it's just like weird. I mean, there's 365 days in a year. Could be any days. This is just what happened. And then later on in life, I can't remember. I would have to pull out their baptismal things, but I can't remember the dates that Dylan and Tyler's were. I want to say they were maybe around this time. Maybe they weren't. I don't know. So I'm not going to even attempt it, but those ones stand in my mind. And then the next one was 2,190 days ago was, the day Dylan had brain surgery. And so I always call this the brain anniversary. He is still freaking sick. So he was recently diagnosed with pneumonia. So he's in there coughing up a lung. So, but usually I use this day and him and I will go out to lunch and, just really celebrate the fact of what he's been through and, what he has survived and just his tenacity and just to know this is one of those things it's a good day. And 2,190 days ago was a really very one of probably the worst days in some ways of my life. It was the most worrisome day maybe of my life. You had a lot more, I had a lot more skin in the game 5 years ago. So now, right, I'm 47, so I must have been 42. I'm a little bit older, quite a bit older. When Bradley had his heart surgery, I was 23. I was still pretty young and naive. And here, this was a very young, it was just me and him and Chris, this stranger that I randomly married and had a kid with. Like, you know, and at this point, my family was kind of already, you know, like they were fearful from what they said. They didn't want to get too close to him because, you know, it was hard for them to see a sick baby. And it was, you know, just they didn't know if he was going to survive. And so they thought that keeping their distance would be best. And that's their story, and that's fine. You know, like, it is what it is. But like, I was just a quite a bit different person. Now you have siblings involved. You have not just, you have so, it's just so multifaceted. And, I just remember like just feeling just such like a gut punch. Like, you're just so worried. Like, you're giving this kid a hug and you don't know, like, if this is going to be your last hug. And that is any hug. Like, that's the thing. Like, I try to remind myself sometimes in the present to really appreciate life. And I know it sounds morbid, and I guess when you've seen as much, like, and I'm not like a, you know, mortician or something, you know, I'm not a doctor or a nurse, so I am not bred to see this amount of kind of like medical adversity. Like, it wasn't like this is my calling and I'm doing it. And apparently it was like my calling and I didn't know it, and I've been thrust in this position. But like, I mean, really, it is true, right? Like, you can give your loved one a hug, they can go out, get hit by a bus. Like, I mean, there's so many weird, random things that can happen. We just don't know. And we do take it for granted. And like, we do like just assume like we are going to wake up. We are going to go to sleep tonight. Like, and at some point, someday, that will not be true. Like, we will wake up and we will not go back to sleep again. Like, we will go to sleep forever. And I know it sounds morbid, and I know, like, I get it, but like, it really, for some reason, it kind of like grounds me and is like, is this a priority? Like, if this person would never come back home or ever come back into your life again, like, what would you want to say to them? What would you want to tell them? Like, what would you want to know from them? Like, what of their experiences, like, do you need more of? Like, what stories do you need to hear? You know, I don't know. So like, you know, when you're there, like, you don't sleep the whole night before. Like, you're just like, I remember, because once he was diagnosed, and like, I just needed to keep an eye on him. I'm like, listen, you are sleeping in the room with mom. Like, I need to know, like, he, you know, is not having a seizure in his sleep. Like, you know, something isn't happening to where I just needed no regrets. And if he was, you know, at my hip for most of the time, I could feel confident in my skills and my ability to get him help and to recognize, like, this is abnormal. And so it was like, it happened so fast, right? Like, it was his birthday, and then he started having the seizures. We didn't know they were seizures for a couple more days. And like, I mean, Chris knew, and like, I hadn't seen him yet. So you have this mysterious thing of what you were anticipating it's going to look like. And then it looks different. And it's just like, you want you want your old life. You want what was before to be the normal still. Even if before wasn't perfect, it now looks like heaven, right? Like, it looks amazing. Like, I just want to take him to a practice, and I want him to not have seizures, and I want him to, you know, experience that. I want him to go to school and not panic and sit in the parking lot in case something happens. Like, you just want the normalcy. And then when it happens so fast, it's like, it takes a minute for it to catch up. It's like, is this real? Is this a dream? Is this a nightmare? Like, what am I doing? Is this the right information? It's just such an overload of information. And then you just want to do so right by this person. Like, you want to help them. You want to fix them. You want to, you know, take away their pain and their worries. And I don't know, it's just such a crazy experience. And, you know, so you go about life and you don't know, and these things happen, and it's like, okay, I know without a reasonable doubt, like I will do everything in my power to like protect you and help you. So it's like you go through this thing where your life is like in an instant altered. Totally different. You had no control over it. You are you're in like this heightened mode. You're in anticipation, like, you know, poor kid, because the way when his seizures would present themselves, he would like look to an extreme thing. So it was like if he would just glance the right, Dylan, are you okay? Like it was just a panic. Like I needed to know, are you okay? Is it time for me to jump in for like assessment and triage here? Like, am I, you know, do I need to get you to the ground? Are you this? So it was like there was this struggle between initially like just trying to send him to school and send him to sports as if nothing was happening, as if this, you know, okay, I communicated this happened, and now I'm going to trust that these teachers, students, kids, athletes, players, coaches are going to know how to respond, when I really am kind of uncertain still about what it is I'm supposed to do to respond to this. And it's like, you don't want to take away the little bit of normalcy that they have, because like, obviously he's going through it too. And, you know, like I was talking about yesterday, I mean, just the communicating with him was huge. Like hearing, what is your experience? Like, what are you feeling? Like, and sometimes, many times, there were not words that he could put to the experience, you know, but the fact that we talked about it and that he knew that there was a place to go when those words matched what was going on in the emotions, when it all made sense. And it was like, or didn't make sense. Like he knew he wasn't alone. He wasn't left to process this really scary, unwanted, unexpected situation. And in those times, like oftentimes, you know, like I'm a person who's like, okay, this is bad, but like it could be so much worse. Like I had a friend who told me, ironically, like around the same time, a friend of hers had a child, and the child passed away. And it ultimately came out the child had the same thing that my son had. And so like, as bad as this was and as unwanted and horrible, I will take that every single day over him not being here. Every day. Like I will go through that hell. I'm sure he would go through that hell to be here, versus the alternative of not, and living in that hell. And you know, it's just like, sometimes I wish it didn't take like these brushes with death, these abrupt changes in our normalcy, a pandemic, a diagnosis, a loss of a friend, a loss of a loved one, whether it be, you know, to death or by like we're just ending this relationship. It's not working for me anymore. And I no longer want to be a part of you. And like, it's like, why does it take us to have these sudden, extreme situations to wake us up and say, well, why am I prioritizing things that don't simply matter? Like, why do I spend, you know, X amount of time blow drying my hair every day when, you know, I could be using that time to be having a conversation with my son? Like, and I know it's like we have to make these choices. Like every choice has a sacrifice. Every sacrifice has, you know, a gain. And like, it's all this like complicated interwoven circle. And, you know, I just say like, it's so hard too. Cause like, I think back to who I was 2,190 days ago. Like I am there right now. I am in the Stanford hospital waiting area, and I'm sitting there and I'm like sick into my stomach. Like I had brought books and snacks and my phone and anything I could think of to kind of distract me from the fact, like every time I would think, like literally there is a saw cutting into my son's skull that is then gonna like make a hole and then pull out a piece of his skull. And then they're gonna peel open, you know, from here, he has a scar from here to here. They're going to peel open like his skin, and they are going to go into his brain, and they're gonna touch his brain. And like, they have told me that there are no promises like he will wake up. There are no promises that whatever they're doing in there doesn't cause more damages. There are no promises that when he wakes up, he will ever return to the baseline he was at before. And, you know, you have all this uncertainty. And in that time, all you have is faith. All you have is your spirituality. And, you know, you have, like, for me, like, it was just staying in positive and being like, there is no other choice other than you need to be okay. Like, I need you in my life. Like, you need to be okay. My dad had told me once, like, the worst thing a parent could experience, or the worst thing that in his opinion in life, is experiencing the loss of the child. And I'm like, I've watched one child die. I physically saw my child die, dead for minutes, and come back. And again, at that time, was so uncertain of what his future and our future would hold. Would he be healthy? Would he be brain damaged? Would he be able to walk and talk and, you know, do some of the simple things like get married or, you know, have kids of his own? Like, what is this world going to look like for him now? Like, how is that going to be altered? And so, you know, at that time, and something else that was really important and that really, like, just like that song, The Wind Beneath My Wings, was human kindness. Like, you have no idea how the smallest things really just like uplifted us. Like, I remember I was taking, so my youngest one was still in elementary school. And so I remember taking him to school. And for some reason, this was like, you know, during the diagnosis period, it was like something about a kindness day or a happy day. I don't know what it was. And I was dropping off my son, and the youngest one, not the other one, but I was dropping him off. And as I got to the loop to drop him off to school, there were these teachers, and some of these teachers I had now known for years. He was my fourth kid and my last one going through. I had, you know, been in this school for so many years, right? And there were these teachers, like these people that had shared their knowledge, shared their kindness, shared their passion of education with my children and other kids. Some I just knew, but my kids never particularly had those teachers. But, you know, you're in a school an elementary school for as many years as I was, and I was an active volunteer, and you know, I was there standing there picking up and dropping off, and you know, it wasn't until like my youngest one would beg me to drop him in the loop, or just like, it was like, you know, because I needed to be in 4 different schools or places at once. Like it was basically, that was the only option sometimes. But I remember, and they were holding these colorful signs, and they had music playing, and these signs were like, smile, be kind, you never know what somebody else is going through. And I just remember losing it. I just lost it. I just was like, these signs are talking to me. Like, I think they were put here like, 'cause I needed it right now. Like, it was at a time I felt so alone. I felt so scared. And like I said, I had already like told God, like, I am serious right now. Like, I'm not begging you. I'm not pleading. I promised my son he's going to be okay. You need to make him okay. Period. Bottom line. We are not going to talk about this anymore. I'm not going to beg again tomorrow. This is just what it is. And like, I remember just losing it. And like, it was just everything I needed. Like, it was like gas in an empty car. And I just was like, I think one of them even said, like, you're not alone. And you see kids and teachers, and here I am, thankfully, I'm always in my sunglasses. And so I am just bawling. And then I make it to, you know, I make it back home.
And the first thing I do is I just like hop on an email, and I was like, I remember like, Miss Karen, like, I saw you guys today, like, you have no idea, like, and I know it was probably intended for kids, like, you know, this act of kindness that you guys were doing, but you have no idea the impact, like, it had on me, and like what my family has been struggling with. And, you know, like, I went in to explain to them, like, because it is your family, like, it was happening to Dylan, but it's happening to all of us because we are all so close. You know, it is like, you know, you're the body, and like your kids are your limbs. Like, you still feel like what they're going through. And because like the kids are all so close, like, they were all struggling. I mean, I remember even Bradley at that time was like applying to colleges, and he's like, I don't even want to go to college. Like, I just want to stay here and be with you guys. Like, it is not a good time for me to leave. And with all this going on, and like, you know, like, they're trying to, like, they're kids, and, you know, you see your sibling have to go through this, and then, like, I'm sure, like, for them, it, like, it's like you are confronting your own mortality in a way too, because, you know, all you are is a different birth date and a few other, you know, different, you know, DNA strands than this person. And you're seeing them go through this, and you just, you know, you want to go back to just being like, you're annoying, or, you know, like, you know, just not worrying about that. And like, you know, you have me on the back end to be having to like educate them on like, here's what a seizure looks like. You know, if I'm not here, here's what you need to do first before you even find me. You know, make sure he's safe. That's the priority. You know, like, they're learning things that they never wanted to learn. You know, they're seeing and witnessing. You know, I remember it was Bradley's birthday, and he wanted to go golfing, and so we went mini golfing, and there we are. You know, just like, you think that like the illness will take a pause, right? You could just, this is somebody else's birthday, you know, we're just gonna, you know, go out and have a good time. And then, you know, here we are, we're at the first hole, and he gets his ball, and then he hits his ball, and, you know, there's a big group of us, so I'm at the back, and then I'm like, what is he doing? Like, can you not find your ball? Because it was like almost getting dark at this point, and he's spinning and spinning and spinning, and I'm like, oh, you know, and it just dawns on you, because like it's just so unfamiliar. It wasn't like he was born with this and we're now accustomed dealing with it. It was just, here he was having a seizure, and I thought he was looking for his stupid ball. Like, so hard, right? It's just so hard sometimes, some of the things in life that we go through, and you're just doing your best at that time, and there's so many variables that are out of your control, and it's just tough. But I remember emailing Mrs. Guerin, and I, you know, had shared with her like not only what Dylan was going through, but what the entire family was, because it was affecting us all. And just how special it was that Tyler got to start his day, like, seeing like happiness and good, and knowing like he wasn't alone either. Like, because here he was, this young elementary school kid, and his like built-in bestie is sick, is, you know, he's scared his built-in bestie is gonna die. Like, and no matter what we say and no matter what we tell them, it doesn't take that away. And nor does it take away like what he sees it happen, and then the aftermath on Dylan, or when Dylan comes home and he's in so much pain he can't, you know, talk, and it's just a really difficult time, right? And so I just sent her an email, and I was just like, please share with everyone. And I know this was intended for the students and not the moms, but your guys' message so like came to me exactly when I needed it, and it so touched my heart. And the next thing you know, Dylan is getting this huge cookie bouquet, and like these letters from his previous teachers and kind words, just reminding him just how amazing he is, and you know, that they are thinking of him and praying for him. And you know, when you have nothing and you don't know if you're gonna lose that, even like just people being kind, it means so much. Like, I'm telling you, it was like anytime I started to like have doubts or worry, or I would hear him like have doubts and worry, like I would just say, like, think about, or like even if we weren't like, and somebody did something kind, and I was like, I would tell him, like, you know, when the moments get tough, like, just think about this moment. Just think, like, right now that somebody spent their afternoon cooking this amazing dinner for us and our whole family. Like, they took the time to say, like, we care, and this is how I can show you I care. And some people don't give you something physically, you don't need all that, but even like the thoughts and the prayers, like behind the scene. I mean, somebody sent us holy water, and Dylan and I would sit there with this, like, it was from the Lourdes. I don't even know if I'm saying it right, but every night we would sit there, and we, like, if I would, like, you know, be doing something, he'd be like, don't forget, we have to do the prayer. Like, he would come up, and like, it meant as much to him as it did to me. And it was just this time that, like, we would read this little prayer card, we would put the sign on the cross, like in particular where his I say here, but it was actually here, where his cavernous malformation was. And like, it just, you know, you have no idea. And I remember like his soccer team rallying around him, and like they had the, you know, he's a big soccer player, and so he had the, like, they had the San Jose Earthquakes signed a ball and sent him a card, and like even his team had signed a ball, and like he had friends drive all the way out to Palo Alto to see him, or ones that didn't drive there, as soon as he came home, came to see him. You know, Facebook was a great medium for this. That's why I say, like, not all social media is bad. Like, I do remember one of the few things I could do that day while he was in the procedure was, like, as a distraction, I went on Facebook and just posted, like, I was like, you know, some of you may know and some of you may not know, but like, we could really use your prayers today. Like, your positive thoughts, like whatever it is you're into, send us the juju, send it to him. He needs it. And they responded, and they did. And like, it was just so, just like, there's no words. You just feel like just this immense, like, beauty in something that's really difficult. And like, it just is very comforting to know that people care. And like, it could be strangers, like, they care. And I think it was the Earthquakes even like sent out a shout out on their social media. Like, after his surgery, he had the ball and the card from them, and then he had like, his whole head was like wrapped in gauze and all these things like that for a few days. And they like post it, you know? So it's like, human kindness. Like, it doesn't have to be big. It doesn't have to be this ginormous effort. If you have the means to do like ginormous philanthropy and, you know, leave your fortune to whatever, fabulous. But it could be as little as a smile. It could be as little as a dinner. It could be as little as kind words. Like, those are huge. Those mean so much to people. And I think we take that for granted, or I think a lot of times we assume the other person knows, or we kind of get lost in this, like, well, I don't know what to do or what to say, so I'm not going to say anything at all. Or, you know, worry that, well, I don't want to bring it up because maybe they don't want to talk about it. But that's their right to not talk about it. They can say, I don't want to talk about it. But anytime anybody ever brought it up to me, and I'm a talker though, so, you know, I will understand that not everybody has my desire to talk and my desire to share and things like that. Like, everybody is different. But for me, there was never one time where I was offended or hurt.
I always appreciated people. I mean, to this day, people will still ask me questions like, how's he doing? How did it go? You know, like, because I'm just sharing a story and I'm sharing an experience. And perhaps this experience will be just logged in your mind. And maybe 20 years from now, somebody you knew who somebody is had the same thing. And they're like, hey, I knew this person. Let me reach out to her and see if she has any information. Because that's what happened to me. So like, I think I said this story. So Bradley had open heart surgery, and if I didn't share, I'll share the concise version. So Bradley had open heart surgery at UCSF. He had one of the best surgeons in the world at that time, Dr. Hanley. Shout out to you, love you, appreciate you every single day for the last 24 plus years. But well, not 24 plus, because his surgery was, again, here we go. We're going to have another one, April 28th. So, you know, I'm sure I'll tell you more about Brad's story on April 28th, but this is still Dylan's. So, but anyways, as it turned out to be, later on in life, Bradley ended up playing soccer, and he played in this position called a center back. And so him and his other center back were very interesting center backs because Bradley was very tiny, and so was the other one. He was kind of on this, they were both a little bit on the frailer, shorter side. And so I was like, this is just an interesting dynamic and duo. And I don't know a lot about soccer, but what I do know is I usually see pretty big guys in that position. Tall, big, you know, like big in stature. And Bradley in this particular player, they had unspoken chemistry. When one went up, one went down. They communicated, but they didn't communicate, like they didn't communicate a lot. Like there was a lot of unspoken communication that went on between the two. And that mom had 6 kids, and, you know, she was, you know, just as crazy as I was, and maybe crazier because she had 6. I stopped at 4, but she was, fun lady. The dad super passionate about, you know, soccer. I was like, he was a hoot. She was super, you know, vocal and passionate. And we just, you know, as these soccer games go, you sit next to somebody, spend a lot of time together throughout a season. We got to talking, and it was funny that later on it came out to be that both of our sons had open heart surgery, and the coaches had known, and he wasn't going to violate that. So neither one of them knew, but I think like Bradley had told me, or, you know, his son was her son's name was Chris. Maybe Chris had told her. I don't remember how the conversation began, or we just were talking about it and we were like, hey, ours did too. As it turns out, they literally were having open heart surgery at the same time, same hospital. Crazy. I mean, not the same exact tick, but like within a day or two or week or something of each other. Like they were there in the neonatal intensive care unit together. Like we were there together. And it wasn't like she lived here. She flew in from Hawaii. They flew in from Hawaii. They were living in Hawaii at the time. So, I just am like, some people and some things, like you wish you could be like, like do a rewind and be like, oh my gosh, here are all the times I passed you and didn't know. And now, like before I didn't know, and now you're this super important character and player in my life. Like, I just think it's so freaking cool. But of course, as we were talking, you know, I learned more. And then she said, not only did he have heart surgery later on in life, he ended up having brain surgery. So I was like, oh gosh, you know, I thought mine was bad. And now like, I was like, oh wait, there is a degree of like, there is a worse scenario, you know? And so, you know, but it was logged in my mind, and I'm, you know, just thinking like, okay, you know, it's just something. But I'll be darned, the minute he was diagnosed, I was like, you know, hello, like, please tell me more, like, what was it? This is what mine has, what surgeons, what this, like, these were like resources. It was like, at the time, it was interesting information. It was a story. It was like hearing about their journey and experience. And that later on in life, it would somehow loop back and come back to me and be super beneficial. You know, like, you know, I found out what surgeon they used. That surgeon was one of the absolute best, one I would have definitely considered, but he had just recently moved to, I believe it was, he has a whole institute and everything. I believe it's in, Arizona, I believe it is. But
I wasn't willing to go out to Arizona, and like, I mean, I would have, but we also had a great one here, so it was just kind of like, yeah, whatever. We didn't need to. But anyways, I say all that to say, like, by sharing your stories, right? Like, she could have kept that story to her heart and sacred and never shared it, and I could keep all mine to mine. But what is the point of this experience if I didn't learn from it, and if I didn't get the opportunity to share what I've known? Because, like, when there wasn't a thing called the internet, I mean, there was the internet in 1999. I just didn't have readily access. We had probably some AOL dial-up, like, it wasn't this resourceful tool it is now for me. It wasn't a part of my daily life, and as such, like, I had to navigate that situation with Brad, like, by using books and pamphlets and, like, old school technology that, like, it wasn't, like, readily available. But by sharing these stories, and so I felt very alone at that time. Like, I thought I was the only person in the world who had to, endure this. And the problem with being alone is, like, you only have your mind to make up decisions, because there's still a lot of decisions within there. Like, who is the surgeon? Which hospital are you going to? Which doctors do you trust? Like, and you're only taking the limited information in that you're getting. And so the beauty of the internet for me is, like, I wanted to read stories. Like, I wanted to hear the success stories. So, like, I could go to my son and say, yes, and I found this person in Poland and they had the same thing, and now they're a professional soccer player. Like, because they shared their story. That didn't happen, but I'm just using it as an example. Probably it did, but like, and like, it just makes something that seems so vast and so scary, it seems more manageable. It seems that there could be the possibility for beyond a happy ending. And, like, there's so many struggles in it. I remember one day, and this was, like, super important for me, and I will forever ever be grateful to my dear friend Pauline. Like, she gave me one of the best gifts in that journey. So she came to check in on Dylan and bring him some desserts. She was always such a generous woman when it came to that. I mean, even when this happened, she was like, please, can I set up a GoFundMe for your family? And I was just too prideful, and I was like, no, we don't need that. Like, it was like, I was embarrassed that our financial situation was the way it was. And I thought in ways like I could hide from it and nobody would really know that, our finances are as dire as they are. And so it was like, I just was like, no, nothing. And so in every other possible way, she tried to support me and my family. She would bring him like goodies, and she would send me cards, and she would text and check in on me. And I remember one day she came to bring him goodies, and I just was outside, and she's like, how's he doing? And I'm, telling this. And then she's like, but how are you? And I really hadn't had a lot of time to think about that. And if I would, because it was like, I had to be stoic around Dylan and very matter of fact, and we're going to be okay. And I was a nurse and doctor on call. And then around my kids, I needed to be very like, and around Dylan as well, I was very like, I wanted to hear his experience. I wanted him to know that there were resources available. If he didn't feel comfortable speaking with me or dad or his coaches or somebody else, like, there are resources, and, you aren't alone, and everything you feel is absolutely normal. And then the same thing goes with his siblings. They are navigating their own teenage and preteen lives that have their own disappointments and joys, and they're feeling guilt because they can go play soccer, and they're feeling guilt because they're normal, and they're feeling worry that they're seeing their brother this way. They're feeling worry about so there's so many dynamics going on that there wasn't a lot of time to think of me. There wasn't a lot of alone time to begin with, and any time that I was alone, it was just like I needed to just cry it out. I just needed to quickly get a release out and get back to business. And I was, I think at that time, I don't know if I still doing my therapy every week. I didn't know if I was like, listen, I don't have time, but like, I know I was in communication with my therapist, and she's a very spiritual woman. She's very godly. She would send me a lot of prayers and, you know, remind me like, you know, our prayers work, and, you know, she was praying for him. So like, she was a great, tool as well. A support system, a great, you know, asset to have on my side. But I remember Pauline came, and I literally remember where I was standing, and, I remember, you know, she asked how I was, and I was like, I don't know. And I remember like at one point, you know, like it was just like I started just like saying, I was like, I feel so bad. Like I remember just now again, I was back into the crying. I'm not even gonna say I don't cry because clearly I do, but like, I was like, I just started crying, and I was like, you know, I have one job, like as a mom, right? Like my first job as a mom is to bring a healthy 10-fingered, 10-toed baby into this world. And I failed. Like I failed on my kids. One, I gave him a broken heart. One, I've given him a broken brain. One, he has broken eyes and lungs and allergies. You know, my daughter, she is broken in many different ways. And mentally, you know, like she's unhappy with her appearance. Like she has her own ailments. I just failed. Like I had one job, and I failed them. Like I am the worst mom. I am the worst person in this world. Like why did I do this wrong? Like I should have never been a mom. I should have never been a parent. Like I broke them. I broke them before they ever had a chance. They like came into this world completely disadvantaged, and it's my fault. Like, and I did everything right. I went to the prenatal appointments. I took prenatal pills. Even when I was throwing up, I had invasive surgeries to keep them in my womb. And then another surgery to take them out because that surgery was so successful. I crawled around on the floor like a dog for months so that my daughter didn't have to spend a day in the NICU. Like I did everything I possibly could, and I messed them up. And I remember crying, and she's not a super religious woman at all, but she just said to me exactly what I needed to hear. And she was like, no, you've got it all wrong. Like, God knew when he gave you those kids that you were the only person that could help them. You were the only person that could support them. Those 4 kids were handpicked for you because you could handle this, because you were able to get them past the point to where they can live their lives. And for some reason, like the way she had said it, it wasn't verbatim the way I just said it, but it just hit me. And I believed her. And like to this day, if I ever doubt now or say like, man, I really messed you guys up, or, you know, start to try to feel even the cringe of responsibility for whatever adversity that they're experiencing, I hear her say that in my mind. And she would tell me like all the things that you've endured with your kids, all the things that you've endured as an individual or with your external family or friends, those were all tests. And like you were doing so well at these tests, like you blew these tests out of the water. Like God knew you could handle this. God knew that you were the perfect person for them. And it just made me feel so special. Like it made me feel like instead of this place of like anger at myself, I felt this sense of like pride and this sense of like value and worth and this incredible responsibility that had been bestowed upon me. And like, I just felt this honor, and I just was like, I am so lucky that I was chosen to be their mom. Cause like I say all the time, like they're pretty amazing humans. Like whether they're my kids or not, like even if I didn't know them, I'd be like, when I hear their story or when I read it on a paper, I'm like, Well, yeah, you are pretty, I mean, like, not that I don't always know it, but it's just such a part of, this is just what it is. Like, I sometimes take it for granted. And, you know, like, they have taught me so much. And like, I think the most important lesson is that they've taught me is like, life is so precious and there aren't any guarantees. And that we make these choices every day that impact us, not only that day and in our future. And that, like, it should be a daily thing to not take one another for granted. You know, like, even in this recent injury of my son's with his ACL, we haven't done it again because I was starting to get cold. It was the holidays. He's like, you know, there's this new invention, Mom. It's called a jacket. You put it on. We go for the walk. And I, you know, been tired of this and this. And it's like my time. There's so many things I'm energetic and passionate about that, like, I am starting to run out of time. So I need to use some better time management skills and like really focus in. But like, sometimes I'm just tired, you know, like at 9 or 10 or 11 o'clock at night, I don't want to do the walk. I'm cold. I'm tired. I want to go to take my shower. And I want to go to bed. But we were doing them pretty religiously for about 6 months before surgery and after. And, you know, we've slacked off a little bit. I'm going to say we'll probably get back in the groove in February once he's feeling better and things like that. But, like, you know, I would tell him, I'm like, how lucky am I? I mean, how many 17-year-olds, because it started when he was 17. He is now 18, so now I have to say 18-year-olds. But how many 17, 18-year-olds are males are out walking with their mom every night and are like, come on, Mom, let's go for a walk. Like, I'm not like, will you come for a walk with me? Like, he is like, come on, let's go. And like, he really accounts like those walks as like a huge, tremendous impact on his recovery. And I do too. Like, not only were they great physically, like, just to have that mental time. I mean, one day it was so cool. Like, so up near where we live, there's like a kind of like a senior assisted living facility. And it was a beautiful, warm, you know, late summer evening. And we were walking and his knee kind of started to hurt. And so I said, well, why don't we stop over here? It was like a porch and it had rocking chairs. And he was like, can we do this? I'm like, we're not causing any harm. If they don't want us here, they'll ask us to leave. But I think as long as we're respectful and kind and not, you know, disturbing anything, I don't think anybody is going to have a problem with it. If we do, we'll just simply leave, right? So we sit down, and I'm telling you, of all my years, of all my life, I will never forget that. Like, that was such a beautiful evening. I mean, the subject matters in which we talked about, the rocking in the chair, the living life, like there simply was no other care. There was nothing else. It was just Dylan and I and whatever thoughts came in our mind and whatever we wanted to share. And like, these walks have taught me so much about him that I didn't even know. I mean, we've seen crazy things. We've seen the Starlinks, like I said, taking off. We've seen incredible sunsets and the harvest moons and, you know, small moons and stars, constellations, planets, planes, things that we thought were UFOs that were not, you know, like, which just prompted even more curious conversation. And I just think like I said, like I was like, you know, I tell him, I was like, you know, we never would have, like, if our normal life would have just gone by, you say you didn't tear your ACL and you would be off at practice and this, like, we would have never made the time for this. And it's like, it's so funny that we say that, like, let's make time for this. Like, the time is there. There's no change. There's 24 hours every day. Today, well, as long as we wake up and go to sleep, right? So we woke up, we did that. So celebrate that. Because of all the billions and billions of people that have ever been born, we are one of the few billions that actually woke up today. So let's like take a moment of silence for that. Like, thank you. Because even if today is going to be a struggle day, like, at least we're here. At least we're getting a chance and we get to choose how we respond and we get to choose what we do with whatever life presents ourselves with. So number one, celebrate the F out of that. Like, heck yes, we woke up today. So
Like, I appreciate that. But then it's like, I don't even know what I was saying beyond that. I always get on that tangent because like I think about that and I'm like, that is really actually kind of cool. Like that is like really, really cool. Like I am super grateful for that. But like, oh, that's about time is like, we just oftentimes like don't, like we say, make the time. And it's just like, it's not that we make the time. It's like, what are we choosing to do with our time? And we both agreed, like, more than likely we wouldn't have chosen to spend the time doing that, but we were so grateful we did. And so like, it's something we both now miss now that we're not doing it. And so just like, there's more times like that. And so like, I think the whole point of this is today, like today's lesson is on this January 24th, 2,190 days ago, I would have wished I could have taken just a peek at what life would have been like today. Like if I would have known, like if I would have taken a peek and I would have seen all 4 of my kids alive and healthy. If I would have seen me, I would have probably you would have needed to resuscitate me. I would have been like, yeah, right. Who is that woman? Like, what happened? You know, does she have an illness? Like, what is going on with her? Is she okay? You know, and I think I would have like seen her glow and smile and like confidence. I would have been like, holy, I didn't even know this was possible. Like, this is even like greater than my best dream, you know? Like, I think like if I could have just glanced and saw, even though he's now confronted with another, you know, challenging experience in life for him, I would have been like so at peace. I would have been so grateful, but like it would have, I think that today, like I wasn't supposed to, right? Like I wasn't supposed to see that, but like it just would have been nice to know that like no matter what's going to happen, it's going to be okay. And I take that same thing and think about it and apply that to the future. Like I don't know what's going to happen in the future. I don't know if my marriage is going to survive. I don't know if my son is going to go away to college. I don't know if my other son's going to get a job. I don't know if they're going to move to Southern California. Like, I don't know a lot of things, but I have faith and I have the confidence to know that I am making active choices every day to not live with regrets. So if the time comes and my son wants to move to LA, I know that we spent as much time together as we could while we lived under the same roof. That I have taught him everything his little brain wanted to absorb and learn. And I will still be here to teach him and guide him until I take my last breath. You know, like it is just such a lucky thing to live life. And I would never wish facing death or observing death on anyone. But in hindsight, I can't even believe I'm saying this, it has been one of the best gifts I've ever received. It has shown me so much about life, and it has allowed me to be the person I am today. And like today, I feel this intense calmness. I feel this overwhelming feeling that I am exactly where I am supposed to be, doing exactly what I'm supposed to be doing. Like every trial, every trauma, every tribulation has led to this very moment, and it is beautiful. It is magical. It is so appreciated. Like, so I just want to say today, number one, thank you. Thank you to every person who has ever shown anyone human kindness. A special shout out to all of those people who I'm aware of and all the ones who did it in silence, who shared human kindness with my family when we were really low. That you guys truly were the wind beneath our wings. When we thought we could not stand, you held us up. And I mean that from the bottom of our hearts.
I want to say, if you're facing something, please, please share your stories if you can, because there's so much wisdom and power and community, and it really does take a village. A lot of times, like a person like me who becomes super independent by survival, by necessity. But when we rely upon our community, when we understand what our individual strengths are and what our individual weaknesses are, and that what my strengths are possibly your weakness, and if we work together, we don't have to work as hard, and we can make this place, this world, this community a beautiful place. So I say all that to say, is there something kind you can do? Because what I'm going to do kind today is this. I have been following the story of a young, lovely, si magnifique, baker. And I found her by accident. And I immediately had reached out and was like, hey, my husband does these meetings. Like, if you do go on to this business as your own, your creations are works of art. They looked beautiful. I hadn't tried it at this point. I'd be happy to share, even if you don't join officially, at least go, it'll get your name out there. I'm all about a woman business. You know, I opened my own business in order to be with my family more. So please use me as a resource. She emailed back, was very gracious, very nice, and everything like that. Later on, she had these treats for sale, and I couldn't resist. I was like, I love my desserts. So I ordered these things, and I swear there were unicorns dancing on my tongue. Delicious. My favorite cake of all time. It's this millionaire. It's only she makes it. It's a millionaire hazelnut something heaven. It is the best thing I have ever eaten. Like, I could eat that and then die, and I would be a happy woman. Like, I would completely content. It is that stinking good. Well, she is opening up a bakery, and so I've been having on the back of my mind that she had a GoFundMe and stuff like that, and I have her Venmo, so I'm like, I just want to gift it to her. Like, I don't think they take up that much of it, but I'm like, I want every single stinking penny to go to her and building her dream. She's got 3 young girls, and then as it turned out to be, I know her husband. I know her husband because I see her husband twice a week. He works at the PT office. So he isn't our physical therapist, but he does all the everything else. He runs the place basically. And so I am like, are you kidding? I've been over here like supporting, rooting for everything, this lady. And like, you know, all the while, like I had an in with the husband here. I didn't even know. And like, you know, I have had a lot of injured kids. So I mean, I can't even count up. I probably should have probably close to 2,190 days of times in physical therapy and doctor's appointments. But yeah, so like I know him very well. He's been there since my oldest used to go there, and now we go twice a week for Dylan. So yeah, we see him quite a bit. We talk fantasy football, you know, like we talk about, you know, that he's soul cycling over there, you know, like he laughs at my stories about the swing. So like, you know, I know this person. So anyway, so my act of kindness today is I am going to donate to her. I'm going to donate to her family. I'm going to donate to her dream and her bakery. She has been burning the midnight oil and cleaning and scrubbing, and her kids are there. And, you know, I love a hustler. And she is a hustler, and she makes a beautiful product, and I cannot wait to go and eat her products. Patisserie by Simone, and in Livermore, California. I shout you out because I swear to God, I am obsessed. But today, my act of kindness is going to be, I am going to donate to you so that your dreams come possible in a little bit,
in any way I can. I can be a little bit of piece of that. And I hope that it brings your family some joy, as much joy as your goodies bring me and this world. And because it's not just me, but, I just want to say, if there's something you can do, like think of something like, you know, I don't know, like what there could be. Like there's so many. I'm gonna actually research this. You know, like what are like little random acts of kindness? I know people have done them, like, you know, at like the Walmarts, or, you know, whatever the where they put the, you know, whatever on hold and then they pay for it over time. Or, you know, like, is there something like, if you don't have the monetary means, like what can you offer as words of encouragement? Or again, like I said, a smile, you know, tell somebody a compliment. Oh my gosh, you will see humans light up. Even if they don't hear you, even though they're like, oh no, or oh this, listen, they will light up. Try it. I like your hair. Like, oh, you have really pretty eyes. Watch some, your earrings. It doesn't have to be anything weird or anything. Just give somebody a compliment and watch the human soul light up like a candle. Because I think we're so quick to judge and say cruel things, but we often forget to say nice things. And so it's like quite frequently I'll write in to whoever about my dance instructor, like his bosses and things like that, or to him personally, because like he has been such a influence on my life and has been such a big part of my journey that, you know, I want to share my gratitude. And I just don't want to assume that he knows that. Like, it's really important. And what these life you know, threatening situations have taught me is like, share with the people what you feel about them. It is important that they know. It is important that Chris knows that I appreciate that he's out there working and doing the best he can to provide for this family. It is important that my kids know that when they do their chores without being asked, it really means a lot. It is important for them to know that I am really proud of their accomplishments. I am most proud when they do things that most people wouldn't notice. You know, if they knock somebody down on the soccer field, but then they put their hand down and lift them up, I am so proud of you. I am so proud of Dylan that when the opportunity presented to him, because I told him it would. I'm like, you remember this, Dylan. You remember every ounce of kindness shown to us. And I promise you, in your life, there will come a time, there will come a day, and there will come a situation, and you get to repay that. And if you can do it frequently, even better. But we had a situation where last year, my youngest son came home and he was a little bit of a mess. He was struggling, and he was like, somebody on my team is having seizures, and it's like Dylan. And it was like a PTSD. It was bringing up a lot of things that were probably unaddressed because, you know, he was in elementary school and he thought it was addressed, and it was just probably sitting in there like an open wound. And as it turns out, this young boy had exactly the same, if not very similar to what Dylan had. And he had to have brain surgery. He was having seizures. He was, you know, left-footed player, playing in the same position as Dylan. And Dylan and Tyler, especially Dylan, took him under his wing and supported him through his journey, because I was like, there is nobody else that I know of personally on this earth that knows what you know or has been through your experience. And so you are a great tool and asset. And if you would have had that, I would have been all over it. So offer your kindness. If they take it, great. If they don't. And I would get texts from the mom in tears, like, thank him so much. Thank your family so much. Like, she would ask me questions. Like, just being that resource was it was such a beautiful full circle moment. And again, this young man has made strides, and he's intelligent, and he's back in school, and he's doing very well. So, you know, I say all that to say, by sharing and by being kind and being willing to help others, you have no idea the impact that you have on someone unless you've been through that situation. And then if you know, then you know that it is our duty to share that with other people, because it is not fair just to hold it all in. Like, we know that we give it out, but if it comes back in time again and we need it again, that there will be somebody, because we are just spreading kindness, and each person we spread it to, if they could spread it to 6 people and they spread it to 6 people, it is just infectious. It will be going around, and we can just be spreading kindness instead of cut downs, and this world will be a much better place to wake up to tomorrow, when we all get to wake up. So I, again, will let you go. I will end here. So you enjoy yourself. Go appreciate your loved ones. Give them a hug. I know I for sure will. I will mask up and go over there and give them a big fat hug, because I am so grateful that 2,190 days ago, a team of doctors, nurses, and everybody, this is important too. I say one more thing. Don't just appreciate the doctors or pray for them. I mean, there were custodians, there were, technicians, there were people that created the devices. There are so many, the people in the authorization departments, like, talking to them, and I tell them, I'm like, I will be your new best friend, and maybe you're a thorn in your side as I advocate for my son, but I want you to know every day I am praying and thanking you for what you do, because I know when he is healed that you were also a part of this. It wasn't just the person on the stage that made this all happen, that you are a big part of the reason why he even has the opportunity to have this done. So I say, like, don't limit yourself to the stars of the show, the big fancy neurosurgeons and things like that. While they're amazing and phenomenal and incredible, there are a lot of other amazing, phenomenal, incredible people that make that life-saving surgery possible. So I say this: go out there, spread love, donate what you can, share what you can, even if it's a smile or a kind word. Those are for free. They don't cost a darn thing. So, and they really mean a lot to people. So I say all that to say, have a lovely day. I cannot wait to talk to you again tomorrow. Bye.